Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about what everybody's talking about, the price increase on the D&D Canon hardback. All right, so this was announced with the Bigby's book that is coming out in August, which I believe was delayed. So the Bigby's book in August was delayed. And Hasbro just announced that the price for that, and it's available. You can order it right now, right? So you can get the D&D hardback, the D&D Canon hardback. You can pre-order it right now for $60. This is a huge change because it is a price increase of $10. So let's start talking this through because there's so many points to talk about. So first of all, just look at the language that is being used by D&D coverage sources, right? So what are D&D coverage sources? I'm a D&D coverage source. I talk about, if you listen to me, you're gonna know about, I would say, the majority of the major events that happen on Dungeons & Dragons, I definitely talk about, right? And I talk about them in a pretty, right away, like within 24 to 48 hours of them hitting. Usually I'll talk about them, right? And if I'm ever not talking about them, it's because I'm still thinking about it, right? Like, and that's definitely a thing, is like sometimes I just need to consider, and think about what's happening, because the things that happen, this is pretty interesting. I think the things that happen on Dungeons & Dragons, none of them are simple and none of them are normal, right? Like virtually every single thing that happens on Dungeons & Dragons is massively complicated and massively strange. And you could see that in the coverage. Just like, people are like, what's happening? Like, when is this going to slow down? When can I start to cover all these other games I want to cover other than D&D? But D&D just keeps doing epic things with Pinkertons, and I have to talk about it, right? It's incredible, right? Like, so basically, Bigby's comes out at a brand new retail price of $60. And everybody under the sun, whether you're D&D coverage, whether you're OSR coverage, or whether you're indie coverage, had to talk about it because this new price increase impacts every single segment of the tabletop it of course impacts Dungeons and Dragons, and it of course impacts the OSR and the indies, which are trying to be as successful as Dungeons and Dragons and distinct from Dungeons and Dragons, and continue to fail in just in a wide array of entertaining ways, right? And so basically one, let's just talk about the language. I called it a price increase. I'm a D&D ally. You want to hear a D&D foe? They'll use the term price hike, right? That you could tell that's somebody who hates Dungeons & Dragons, but is trapped talking about Dungeons & Dragons. There's tons of them. Game Masters is like this. Nerd Immersion is like this. Dungeon Master, Professor Dungeon Master, Ginny D, all absolutely despise Dungeons & Dragons, in my humble opinion. Desperately want to talk about any other tabletop role-playing game in the world, and are horribly trapped because every time they try to talk about anything else, they get smacked down with the reality that, who wants 10% of the views? Nobody, right? Like, you're like, do you want 100% of the views, or do you want 10% of the views, right? Like, and that's the choice, right? So they all have to circle back. They're all going to cover this, right, in detail, because it's setting the mark. And what it also says, actually, I was about to tell you, this is going to increase the prices for OSR and indie. No, that is not the case. Those guys have already, those industry segments have already massively increased their prices, and because nobody cares about it, nobody covered it, right? Like, I love index card RPG. I've literally bought every single tabletop role-playing game they've ever created, every single one, right, in physical form, right? And the latest one I got was like, there's been a couple since then, but one of the few I got recently was Viking Death Squad, right? And Viking Death Squad, where did I land with Viking Death Squad? That thing cost me $70, and I had to wait 2.5 months to receive it, right? And that is literally one half the size of a D&D Canon hardback. Literally, it's physically smaller, and it has about half the pages, right? So OSR and indie are way over this, and their prices are outrageously high. I recently really wanted to purchase the physical copy of that game with the verdancy in it, Wild Seas, right? those are $80, $80, right? So they're $20 over the, like, the new good hot stuff that's dropping are $20 or $30 from any OSR indie company, are $20 or $30 over MSRP for D&D. So D&D has kept the same, has literally kept the same pricing for 8 years. You know, oh man, 5th edition came out in 2014, right? And they have kept the same price. Like, you could buy a PHB then for $50. You can buy a PHB now for $50, right? Prediction. This is where it's going. So this is a huge moment, and we should, you know, and I think the biggest thing is just realize, like, again, D&D shifts and the entire industry pays attention. And this is massive. And it's prompted a discussion about prices for D&D Canon hardbacks. So, first of all, prediction. Everybody's been saying, oh, this is so that they can sell the revised and the revised PHB and the DMG. By the way, there's been no announcement for a revised Monster Manual because they already did the multiverse one. So I don't think there will be that. So I think those books are not going to be $60. I think they're going to be $75. $75. That's my prediction, okay? In addition to that, what is the true value? What should be the price for the PHB and the DMG? The actual price should be $500 a piece, right? The 2024 revised PHB and DMG should be $500. And the reason why is everyone who is going to get it can afford to do it. And the reason why is, I think this is where we realize now, right? No one is dungeon mastering Dungeons & Dragons. And by the way, let's also stop pretending that players are buying the player's handbook. They're not, right? Dungeon masters are buying the PHB and the DMG in physical form. There are no talented dungeon masters. If you're a talented dungeon master, you are one of the most charismatic, confident, and intelligent people in America. Period. End of sentence. Right? There's none that can't afford to buy each one of those books at $500 USD. The actual true price, in my humble opinion, the price that will manifest I'm predicting is $75. The price that should manifest is $500 USD for both the 2024 revision PHB and the 2024 revision DMG. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.